The Octobrush is a middleweight brush that boasts wide ink trails and a generous area of effect with its swings. Though not as fast as the ink brush or as powerful as the paintbrush, the Octobrush can fill valuable roles within comps. So let's discuss how to get the most out of this weapon in SalmonRun. Stats. Like the other brushes, the Octobrush can damage enemies in two ways, by flicking or by rolling. When flicking, the Octobrush has a maximum damage of 60 and a minimum damage of 45. When rolling, it does 40 damage, meaning it can only crush small fry. It will bounce off of everything else. Its range is okay, but you'll often find yourself needing height to help your damage spread, but more about that later. The Octobrush takes 1 frame to start flicking and 10 frames per consecutive swing, giving you a maximum of 6 flicks per second. You can flick the brush around 30 times before running out of ink. After finishing, it takes 30 frames to start recovering ink. You can roll for quite some time before running out of ink, and it takes 20 frames to start recovering ink when you finish. The Octobrush's ink tank has been improved for SalmonRun over the course of the game, but it still isn't great. I'd be cautious with bomb throwing, as you'll only have about 10 swings left after doing so, and that ain't as much as you think it might be. As a brush, you'll likely find yourself moving around the map more than other players, so keep an eye on your ink tank. Boss slaying. The range and moderate damage means that whilst the Octobrush won't excel at anything in particular, it shouldn't struggle with most enemies in the game on a 1-to-1 basis. Steelheads can be reached and one-cycled, and 500 HP bosses like Steel Eels, Slamming Lids and Scrappers shouldn't cause any major problems. Flipper Floppers are also fine due to the Octobrush's large paint radius, and Moors don't really threaten you. The issue you might face with a weapon like the Octobrush is becoming overwhelmed and not being able to manage multiple threats surrounding you. Multiple Eels and Scrappers can really restrict your space and ability to hit other exposed targets. Try not to let these spawns build up around you. The Octobrush is good for rushing for fast statics. These include stingers, fish sticks and fly fish. Your mobility and ability to get around a map quickly comes in handy for these bosses. So whilst you may struggle with overall damage, you're really good for running around and handling these particular ones. Where you may struggle is against bulkier enemies, specifically drizzlers and big shots. The key to these bosses is to accept your limitations in terms of strict damage output and consider supporting teammates instead. Bomb throws and your ability to hit multiple targets is something to always keep in mind. This is also how you should play against lessers and in night waves like Rush and Grillers. You should concentrate your direct hits on the bigger, bulkier enemies such as Cohocks, Grillers, Goldies, and make sure the brush swings also damage the lessers around you, such as the small fry and the chum. You won't be soloing any bosses, but any weapon that can spread its damage is very valuable within a comp. The same can be said for king fights, but you may find yourself having to flex to a slayer role if needed. Some weapons are good against kings or good against regular enemies, and you don't really have the outright DPS to only be focusing on the kings. Golden eggs provide better damage for you to use against them, so consider managing bosses if your comp requires it. Weapon role and area of effect. The role of the Octobrush, in my opinion, is supportive, as it doesn't really have the DPS or the ink efficiency to take a slayer role, but what it lacks in overall damage is made up by its generous area of effect. For the most part, you will find that your ability to inflict a wide radius of damage will help your teammates a lot, and this is its main strength. All brushes are somewhat annoying to use if you're not able to mash the button fast enough, but the Octobrush feels less restrictive in this regard. Your swings are slower, but they're wider and they fling paint further, giving you that ability to hit multiple enemies at once. You can support your team this way by damaging anything within your reach, even if it is small damage. Weapons with good AoE spread are invaluable on a comp, regardless of how strong their actual damage numbers are. The ability to hit multiple enemies at once gives your team efficiency, and I've said this in countless other videos, but being able to execute tasks quicker ensures you have more time to focus on the objectives, and this is always a positive thing. Weapons like the Octobrush allow you to damage, weaken and defeat enemies quicker than weapons without AoE spread. It's imperative to the overall function of the weapon that you always seek to hit multiple targets at once, and this becomes more important if the Octobrush is the only weapon on the comp with that AoE spread. If you find yourself having having to take on the role of slaying due to ineffective boss clearing, then there are a couple of things I can recommend to help. The first is to be really strict with your ink tank. You'll want to prioritise damaging enemies with your main, so reducing bombs and egg throws will help you preserve that ink. If you're fighting more, then your teammates will likely be egg running. Keep an eye on this, and if they are, then prioritise your ink tank for your main weapon. The worst thing you can do as an Octobrush is leave yourself vulnerable and without an escape plan. Your ability to roll with your weapon gives you some protection, so don't leave yourself without enough ink to take advantage of this. The second thing that I would recommend is to use height to your advantage. Much like the ink brush, you might struggle with overall reach and range. Jumping helps, but ultimately you'll often find you can't quite reach something. Taking advantage of verticality is something that will make an immediate difference. Maps like Sockeye Station are a good example of this. Wait, do I really not have footage of the Octobrush on Sockeye? Well damn, has it really been this long? Okay, well, maps like Bone Rattle, Smokeyard and JSJ, they all have vertical structures that allow you to damage enemies from elevation. This helps you reach targets like Steelheads and Drizzler torpedoes, but it also helps you spread damage on everything underneath you, most likely lessers. This will help you if you're being left to defeat most bosses and ensures you don't miss important boss cycles. I hope this video helps you appreciate the Octobrush a little bit more. I'll catch you guys soon.